Okay. We're here with Kelly Malcolm, VP Exploration for Amex. Amex is a Quebec-based exploration company with a number of high-grade gold discoveries on their highway-accessible Perron project, which has delivered high-grade results for over the last 2 years and are working towards their maiden 43101 resource on the project. Amex Exploration trading on the TSXV under the symbol AMX, as well as the OTCQX and Frankfurt exchanges. Kelly, welcome. How are you?
Doing very well, thanks. A little chilly up in northern Quebec today, but it's a beautiful day nonetheless.
And you're sitting at the core shack right now, I see.
I am. I'm in the core racks. We've got over 150,000 meters of core stored on this pad that we're at right now. So lots of drilling, very active program. We drilled about 400 meters today alone. So it's a pretty aggressive program that we got on the go.
That's incredible. That's fantastic. So I want to talk a little bit, about some of the recent drill results, some of the, a little bit on the VMS discovery and what that means for the company. But first, let's start. If you just give us a little bit of the elevator pitch on Amex, walk us through some of the high level benefits, and we'll jump in from there.
Sure. So I drove to our project with my car in about 7 hours from Toronto. Highway accessible. We work out of a town of about 700 people. This is a past producing mining town. The project has seen a lot of exploration history throughout the years. However, in 2017, we drilled some very high grade mineralization in what we call the high grade zone. Since then, we've identified a number of gold discoveries, recently announced a copper rich VMS discovery, and we think that the property has a lot more to give. And we're working towards getting a maiden 43101 resource together as soon as possible.
Absolutely. So, and you guys drilled the highest grade gold hole at depth to date about 2 weeks ago now. I think it's returning about 102 grams per ton of gold over 6 meters, with another 31 additional drill holes that you announced. Really, from what we've seen, demonstrating that the high grade gold zone is richer at depth and wider along strike. And I think, proving the high grade core is continuous. So can you tell us a little bit more about that and what that means go forward?
Sure. So that release was probably one of my favorite releases we've put out because it was, if you take a look at that map, basically it starts at the top of the deposit with drill holes, and we drilled down to over 1.2 kilometers in that release. Like you mentioned, one of our highest grade holes drilled to depth was in that release. But in our highlights for that press release, there was 10 or 15 holes that were standouts. All spread throughout the deposit from near surface down to depth. And something we've always sort of talked about at MX is the continuity of this high-grade gold mineralization is pretty special. Many companies can drill high-grade holes. It's not uncommon to see once in a while, but to be able to replicate that again and again and again and again without sort of pods of barren material in between is something unique, at least in the market right now, in my opinion, to MX.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And I want to talk about the discovery that copper rich VMS mineralization. So, give us an update on what that means for Amex, but if you can, cover a little bit about why it's so important, and how ultimately, from at least our perspective, none of that value has been baked into your stock price yet. So, where's the upside there?
Sure. So one of the reasons that I'm standing in the town of Normantal that I'm in right now is that it is a base metal mining town. So there was a mine that was mined from around 1930 through to 1970s, went from surface down to over 2.5 kilometers vertically, built the town that we're in right now. And classically, people have been looking for a similar VMS deposit because often these types of mineral systems occur in clusters. So usually they get one or two spread along a fault or sub-synvolcanic faults. So we decided to, at the beginning of this year, decided to do some VMS work. One of our first few drill holes was the discovery hole that we announced about a month ago. It was around 8 meters of 2.4% copper, about 0.7% zinc, 0.2 grams per ton gold, and around 20 grams of silver. The neat thing about that is that it's very similar to the grades from this past producing mine. They were about 2.1% copper, 5% zinc, half a gram of gold, 45 grams of silver. So for us to see a similar width, which 8 meters was kind of their average mining width over there, very similar grades, indicates to us that we're onto something. And then our first announced follow-up hole was basically the same. We put out 8 meters again, very similar mineralization. So it really does look like there is something significant happening. We obviously need a lot more drilling. We announced another 5,000 meters dedicated to that work, and we're all quite enthused. And our chairman is a VMS. His PhD was on VMS deposits globally, so we're no strangers to this type of mineralization, and quite excited about it.
You know, he made a comment in one of the press releases that it's a company maker on its own. You know, so how do how does that work ultimately, and what's the timeline, especially for the 5,000 meters of drilling that's coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, so really, Quebec is known for VMS deposits. If you speak to any Quebec geologist and ask them what their favorite type of ore deposit is, I bet you 70% are going to say VMS mineralization, especially in the Abitibi. They've always been sought after. There's been some beautiful mines that have been exploited here, including Agnico Eagle's flagship asset, Rouyn. That said, that has a gold overprint on it, but people have been looking for VMS in the Abitibi for years. They've made a lot of money of high profit tons, and that's one of the reasons that we think that we said it could be a company maker on its own, is that companies are built on these type of mineralization.
Very interesting. So you've had some recent softening in the stock price, but obviously the last week, it's had an incredible run up and looks, strong to continue. But talk us through, for investors, new investors that are looking at AMX for the first time, especially in the context of this gold market. Talk us through some of those near-term milestones. Let's call it the 2, 3, and 6 month milestones ahead that we should be looking for next, especially some of those the drill results coming through.
Some was owing to warrant exercises. I think there was a bit of selling pressure that came from during that period. But in that time period, we put out 2 brand new gold discoveries. We put out numerous results from Denise high-grade zone, some regional exploration. We put out the VMS discovery in there as well. So I would say that we're baking in value on a very regular basis here. And really in that softening period, I would say that we added significant value to the company. In terms of milestones, drill results, of course, we've got around 16,000 samples currently in the lab that are pending, that we will get out to the market once they're received. We're constantly drilling holes. We've got, like I said, 400 meters of new core in the core shack today. And we're going to do some additional metallurgical work. We will be doing more drilling on the VMS system, more drilling on the gold systems, and some more regional drilling beginning in about November. So lots of different exciting things to look forward to. And that all boils down to an eventual resource estimate that we're targeting the first half of 2022 to publish.
Interesting. And I want to point out something that PI Financial said, which I'd love to get your comments on, for people watching this. So they said, taking a look at the stock price today, they have, incredible price target of, above $3, and we have Canaccord obviously with price targets above 4. So, huge opportunity here relative to current prices. So they said, we believe that investors are overlooking property-wide exploration upside unlocked through expanding known zones, as well as emerging targets such as the 210 discovery, which we view as a game changer reflective of Perron's target-rich potential to yield new discoveries, strong continuity paving the way to a robust resource ahead, yielding high-grade starter pit and early cash flow, providing capital and portal access to the upper levels of the HGZ.
Sure, I like all of that. We certainly, I do think that there is a lot of life left in the project and the property. We have discovered that, like Phil had mentioned in that report, with the 210 zone, with hole 41 as well, with the new VMS mineralization. And we're going to do a significant drilling program regionally as well. Again, beginning, like I said, as soon as the ground freezes up. So there is a lot of upside here in my eyes. We are working towards that resource estimate. There is strong continuity, like Phil mentioned, and I think there's a lot going for us at the moment.